The Digimon game is way better. Power World is way better. But you're sitting here married to this f***ing flop. Look at this. I've seen better things made with ChatGPT 1. What is this? I see these girls doing this. What is going on? And I go and you look at some of the clips. Let's look at some of the clips for this new.
Forchata!
Okay, so, don't ask me how, but let's just say a certain illegal Mexican here
You need to leave!
figured out how to get Pokemon Legends ZA PC Edition, of course. Allegedly! Because I figured, oh, what the hell? Am I really gonna just jump on a bandwagon and blindly hate Nintendo? Of course! But if I'm going to do it, I need real hatred. None of this fake outrage that slop tubers constantly upload. I need some real actual frustrations, real actual emotions. Things that, you know, I can't solely get from Nitrous. And Pokemon Legends ZA definitely made me feel a lot of things. Now granted, because this is not a Switch 2 edition, perhaps my experience is just not up to snuff. But looking at actual Switch 2 footage, I'm noticing very little differences, and that's quite concerning. And the more I played of it, the more I began to realize, Jesus Christ, the bar for Game Freak has never been lower. It's to the point where the straight up mockery of this title is bigger than its launch itself. Although it's not as if it wasn't expected. Leading up to the launch of this game, none of the criticisms were ever addressed. Pathetic Nintendo corporate shill channels who can't thrive on this platform without being best friends with the company are running to damage control what is inexcusably
the biggest piece of dog shit.
Like a day drinker, every single content creator waited for the clock to strike the right hour so that everybody could get their sweet, sweet release and unload all of their hatred, disappointment, and spite all over the game within a mere first few hours. Normally, I try to steer clear of bandwagons, but this is the most appropriate one because the two gaming companies behind this IP are literally too big to fail. And because of that, they've been able to pump out shitty, unadulterated slop. I mean, pure slop. Every single Pokemon game on the Switch leading up to this title has basically been one giant beta test, fully priced. I kid you not. Game Freak and Nintendo have been selling you what is essentially experimental titles that back in the day we would have called demos. And this acceptance of slop, this acceptance of mediocrity has existed amongst the Pokemon community for a very long time, but it's become all that more prevalent ever since the introduction of Pokemon Go and the giant mainstream audience that brought in. Now because of it, every Pokemon game has had major mechanics stripped, watered down, or repackaged and sold separately because the mobile formula just works so well. And the best mechanics that Pokemon has introduced are all straight up ripped off of other titles, whether it be from Xenoblade, Dragon Quest, or the most important one, Digimon, of course, with the way Game Freak straight up ripped off the idea of Mega Evolutions, a concept that Digimon had over 20 years ago and kept in all of its games. The ability to push your critter to the next level, but also be able to have them go back to their standard appearance that you love so much. You see, Game Freak saw Digimon have success with this and said, why don't we put that in our games? The only difference is that when Digimon actually Mega Evolve, they look like complete badasses, whereas Mega Evolutions and Pokemon sometimes outright looks like fan art from Pokemon fans pulled straight out of a special ed classroom. Some would argue Mega Evolutions actually kind of ruined the designs of certain Pokemon. But either way, before I get even more disorganized in my intro, just want to remind all of you that I was a popsicle stick of my word and the Pokemon Power World parody rap video is up and can be found. I will leave a link down below. Thank you so much for the 700, yes, it's over 700 brand new subscribers. Insane. Our videos don't blow up as much as others, but we're certainly gaining a lot of support. I mean, at times we're gaining more subs than people who have videos going viral. Like, these stats are insane. I don't know why you guys keep doing it, but don't stop. For years, you, the viewer, have had to put up with watching a lot of content creators fake a lot of their excitement, fake a lot of their joy. I mean, I can see it in your eyes. One more video of some Nintendo twig boy spurging out every time he sees a shiny Pokemon show up on screen for the billionth time in a row, and you might get up, go out, and commit a felony. Luckily, I'm here to stop that. I'm here to ensure you get your release, because I hate these motherfuckers as much as you do. But I'm just glad that that hatred has finally manifested itself into what is almost an entire genre of content on this website. People finally telling you how it is about this overrated franchise.
That's a lot of damage.
The user reviews are in the dumpster. But most importantly, the critic reviews dropped by a full 2 points. Now it's at the perfect number, 79. Give me a second. Sweet release. Sweet, sweet, sweet release. Just so good.
Oh my god, it was amazing. It was mostly sexual.
You'll have to excuse me. As a devoted Nintendo hater, I do love to see this. Pokemon can't catch a break.
Well, I'm sorry. Pokemon's grammar is not my bag, man. When you were learning that, I had 2 hot bitches sucking my dick.
From critics and the online community, but yet in spite of that, it is still going to be the most successful intellectual property on the planet. So for that reason and that reason alone, I don't understand why people get upset that while there is a huge chunk that loves this franchise, there is an equally large chunk of people that don't. Is that really so hard to believe? Apparently so for these guys. It was just about, what, less than 24 hours ago, this was sitting at an 81. Now it's sitting at a 79, which makes me wonder. Oh, it tied with Digimon Time Stranger! Would you look at that? And not only did it tie, but it seems that the user reviews are much more favorable for this title. Personally, I think some people are being a little too generous with Digimon, although I do like it infinitely better than the version of Pokemon Legends ZA that I, quote-unquote, legally play on my PC. Both titles suffer from having content cut out, repackaged, and sold back to you, and both titles are $70. And both titles do look pretty outdated. But there is something that Digimon has that Pokemon doesn't. Actually, there's several things. Voice acting, turn-based combat, the ability to speed up combat, being able to revert evolutions, a Digifarm, DNA evolutions, armor evolutions. Most importantly, the game has style, the game has flair, the game isn't really impressive on a technical level from my perspective, but you can tell that they made the most out of what they had with their little budget for such a game. And there's another thing it has that Pokemon Legends ZA doesn't have. More critters to capture. Digimon Time Stranger features over 450 Digimon that you can tame and raise. Pokemon Legends ZA, by comparison, only has 230. As you can see over here, I'm moving my fat head. See? You see right there? Right there. 230. And on top of that, they have the audacity to remove Pokemon from the game that you have to get through DLC. So as far as I'm concerned, while Digimon isn't completely absolved of any sort of anti-consumer practices, it is providing more for your money. And for that reason alone, I cannot stress enough how much better of an alternative it is to what we're getting here. I mean, let's just look at some of these reviews. 328 unfavorable reviews. Now, Nintendo with yet another cash grab piece of slop for the fanboy slash fangirl. Why are we even surprised anymore? It's very clear they lost their love for video games as an art form and consumer product years ago. They want to milk you dry for all you've got, and this is another example of that. Pretty sad for what was once the shining example of, well, you know. Oh, look, we got an 8 here. The core gameplay loop of catching Pokemon in the day and battling at night is fun, and the story is entertaining, but the quality of most buildings and the lack of voice acting keeps Pokemon Legends ZA from reaching its full potential. Really? Buildings? I'll be honest with you. Visuals are the least of this game's problems. When compared to other battle systems, Pokemon Legends ZA feels like it's playing catch-up to several titles. Xenoblade, Power World, you name it. Fundamentally as well, the combat doesn't work in certain situations. Like when you're trying to have combat on rooftops, I have seen people straight up glitch out of their game or outright freeze. Donkey's game froze. Well, if we are to believe Donkey's footage, of course, because it is Donkey. Like I said, a lot of the criticism is towards the graphics, but that is the least of my criticism when it comes to this title. And yes, like you can see right here, generic character palette swaps like these two. They're the same exact character model with just different colored hair and eyes. But the visuals are not what is holding back Pokemon Legends ZA. What's holding Pokemon Legends ZA back is that we know it's far less of a game than what is currently available in other titles. I mean, the fact that they've limited it down to 230 Pokemon, that is such a low number for what is supposed to be their most ambitious title yet. Then they limit you to a city as the entire game map. Meanwhile, I'm playing Digimon, and like I said, the game oozes style. They try. I wouldn't say that they nail the aesthetics all the time, but you can see the effort put in place. Pokemon Legends ZA lacks a distinctive art style. It lacks vibrancy. It lacks a consistent art style. As a matter of fact, I would argue that this Pokemon game has my least favorite Pokemon models of all the 3D Pokemon games that exist currently. I just do not like their appearances. Then again, like I said, I'm coming straight off of Digimon, where the monster variety is just insane, and the amount of different evolutions that you could spawn from one Digimon alone encourage you to capture just about every single one, because you just want to see what the next evolution brings. In Pokemon Legends ZA, some of these mega evolutions outright break the designs. They look terrible. But what's really the problem here is this new battling system that involves more button mashing than Smash Bros. When you're playing something like Power World, your player character is actively more involved and engaged in combat. You summon your pals, they do the fighting for you, yes, but you have a list of commands, a list of moves, and you engage in the combat yourself, actively dodging the other creatures, firing back with your weapons of choice, and the traversal system mixed in there really spices up combat in a way that Pokemon Legends ZA fails to live up to. Pokemon Legends ZA has learned absolutely nothing. They have given you a vertical slice. That is what this game is. It's a vertical slice of what could be one day. Because that's all the Pokemon games have been lately. Potential ideas for what could be. And that's why I cannot recommend it at 70. Why pay 70 for something that is clearly meant to be a working concept when you can pay the money and go get something complete with a more cohesive story, better, more likable characters and critters? Like, you can't go wrong with choosing Digimon over this. Although I do not recommend paying full price, of course. Get that shit on CD keys if you can. Let's look at some more of these reviews. The technical side is an absolute joke. Invisible walls everywhere. NPCs despawning as you get closer. Shouldn't it be the other way around? Awful looking environment. A ridiculously tiny city. Yeah, I'm hearing the map is tiny. For a franchise this big, it's downright scandalous. I would say it's an outright scam, personally, but you know. The city feels dead. The animations are boring. Everything looks lifeless. I played one day and sold it. It's awful. It's a shame and a disappointment even for a 7-year-old kid. We expect more than forced to learn HMs again. A loveless city, bad graphics, worse gameplay than before. This game is trash. Who gives it more than 5 points is joking. Sure, enjoy the game, but even its basic mechanics are trash. Compared to what Digimon games look like in 2025, I was expecting way more out of this. New fighting system and megas are cool, but this city feels so dead. For the price of this game, it's not worth it at all. I had much more fun playing older Pokemon games on the DS, rather than whatever this slop is. You can't go into buildings, NPCs don't give you items, the texture of the world is terrible, Pokemon is about exploring the world and catching cool Pokemon. This game just completely ruins that aspect. Pokemon Legends ZA is a major disappointment. The $70 base game offers a very small and repetitive content, and adding the $30 DLC brings the total to $100 for an experience that quickly becomes boring and simply not worth that price. Crazy to me because some people already have over 30 hours in this title, and nobody's perspective has seemed to change in the span of those 30 hours. People still are not growing fond of the title, which means Game Freak absolutely fumbled. They failed hard. Meanwhile, when it comes to Digimon Time Stranger, I'm getting the complete opposite vibe. The further I get into the game, the more hooked I am. I mean, for instance, spoiler alert, in Digimon Time Stranger, just when you thought you actually hit the opening title, You're about 8 hours in when the game actually finally drops you into the digital world. And then it really starts, because Pokemon Legends EA is the complete opposite. Within like the first 3 hours, I have over 20 tutorials on how to climb a fucking ladder, or how to walk on a roof, or how to capture a Pokemon. Like, the baby gameplay mechanics cannot be figured out by grown-ass adults. I thought it was fun for a while. I enjoyed it, but I started to get that feeling I get when a game gets boring far in, that I can't wait for it to be over, and that is not a good sign. Not having a good story or gameplay, and the cutscenes, my god, the cutscenes, we do not need that much dialogue. At least make it autoplay or something. I thought it was fun for a while, I enjoyed it, but I started to get that feeling I get when a game gets boring far in, that I can't wait for it to be over, and that is not a good sign. Not having a good story, a good gameplay, the cutscenes, my god, the cutscenes. We do not need that much dialogue, and at least make it autoplay or something. Again, this is something that Digimon gets right. Digimon respects your time, which is kind of a strange thing to think about in today's day and age, where video games are more interested in engagement than your money. See, in Time Stranger, you're able to outright just tap A to your heart's content, or hold Y and completely skip dialogue that you're not going to care for. Although in all fairness, the storyline in Digimon is actually quite interesting, so you might not want to skip it. But not just that, the game also lets you speed up combat, really just fast forward and speed blitz, that turns grinding from being a 100-hour pointless experience to however long you want it to be. Most RPGs should be doing this. The combat system was kind of fucked because it delayed so bad that when I tried to switch out my Pokemon mid-battle, the opponent got a free hit. The graphics look like yeah, that's one thing about the Pokemon Legends EA combat. When you switch out your Pokemon, they have an animation for when they're spawned, of course, because the player has to be punished for switching out mid-combat. And meanwhile, Digimon Time Stranger allows you to use items mid-combat without actually burning up a turn. Novel concept, I know, right? Being able to use items without it taking your turn, being able to switch out Digimon without it taking your turn, it really makes combat flow faster, more efficiently. And that's what Digimon Time Stranger just has over Pokemon right now. The combat is far more efficient, fast, responsive, and you're in and out as soon as you want. Legends EA has tried to take real-time combat and mix it in with some semi-RPG gameplay mechanics, but the results are just awful. They couldn't go all the way with this idea, and a lot of that has to do with the limitations of the Switch 1, like people say. But again, it's Nintendo's fault. I would have rated this a 7, but I'm pulling it up to an 8 to combat all the review bombs. I understand the frustration behind the laziness of Game Freak and the Pokemon Company. Could this game be better? Absolutely, but it's not a 0. Just like I wouldn't say any game is really a 10. I've played enough to confidently say, shut the fuck up. And people tell me it only goes one way. These review bombs are disingenuous, and yet right here we have people artificially inflating their scores to combat negative reviews. My god, what are you, fucking 10? People didn't like it. I gotta make sure my score is higher than it needs to be to combat that. Pussy. I mean, the reviews go on and on and on and on. As it is, though, it's not sitting too favorably with the audience. Hell, even critics have dropped their scores. The biggest problem Pokemon Legends is facing right now is the corporate entity publishing its titles. I know a lot of Nintendo fans don't want to feel that way. People usually try to disassociate the two, but you can't. Pokemon is synonymous with Nintendo. It's the reason anybody buys Nintendo devices. Or, for that matter, it's one of the few reasons grown-ass adults post outside GameStops at 12 in the goddamn morning to play this slop. The Disney of video games strikes back. What we have here is a severe case of damage control, and it's been going on for far too long for Nintendo. See, when Microsoft screws up, when Sony screws up, you get popcorn headlines. When Nintendo screws up, oh no, there's a reason behind it. The Switch 1 isn't powerful enough. Nintendo's fault. The game was published too soon. Nintendo's fault. There's nobody to do any quality control. Nintendo's fault. I'm just sick and tired of Nintendo not receiving the rightful criticism. And you know that it is all to do with Nintendo and how pathetically weak their devices are, because Game Freak is not having such issues when it comes to publishing and making games for platforms outside the Switch. We have a juggernaut simply too big to fail. Luckily for us, though, user reviews are not happy with the product.
Free Congo sucks ass.